Here's a question that should keep you up at night. Why do 90% of startups fail? Is it lack of passion? Bad timing? Not enough capital? Actually, it's none of those things. Most startups fail because they're drowning in what business strategists call a red ocean, fighting over scraps, while the real winners are swimming in completely different waters. Let me paint you a picture. It's 1985, and you're running a struggling charity in the UK. You're competing with 500 other charities, all using the same playbook. Guilt-inducing images of suffering children, emotional appeals, the whole 9 yards. Donors are exhausted, confused, increasingly numb to your message. Your competitors are everywhere, and everyone's racing to the bottom. What would you do? Well, if you're comic relief, you do something crazy. You throw out the entire playbook. You eliminate guilt. You eliminate pity. Instead, you create Red Nose Day, turning charity into a national party where people do ridiculous things for money while wearing plastic red noses. The result? Over £950 million raised, 96% brand awareness, and everyone from 6-year-olds with pocket change to wealthy philanthropists lining up to donate, all while spending exactly zero on traditional marketing. This isn't luck. This is blue ocean strategy in action. And by the end of this episode, you're going to understand exactly how to use it to make your competition completely irrelevant. So here's the brutal truth about business that nobody wants to admit. Most companies are stuck in red oceans, market spaces so crowded with competitors that the water has literally turned bloody from the feeding frenzy. These companies obsess over their rivals. They benchmark religiously. They fight tooth and nail for tiny incremental gains in market share. And what does this get them? Commoditization, where your unique product looks just like everyone else's. Price wars, racing to the bottom, shrinking profit margins, working harder for less, and customer acquisition costs that would make a loan shark blush. Meanwhile, the real winners, companies like Cirque du Soleil, Apple, Southwest Airlines, they're not even playing the same game. They've discovered blue oceans, uncontested market spaces where competition is irrelevant because they've made it irrelevant. Now, at the heart of every blue ocean success story is this one counterintuitive insight that changes everything. You don't have to choose between differentiation and low cost. You can have both. This is what the strategists call value innovation, and it's the cornerstone of blue ocean strategy. While your competitors are stuck in the either-or trap, either we're the premium player or we're the budget option, blue ocean strategists pursue the genius of and. Let me show you what this looks like. Cirque du Soleil didn't create a better circus. They eliminated what made circuses expensive: animals, star performers, three-ring chaos, while adding what made theater sophisticated: storylines, artistic music, refined atmosphere. The result? They charged theater prices for a circus experience and had customers lining up around the block. Southwest Airlines didn't compete with other airlines. They competed with driving. They eliminated assigned seating, meals, and hub connections while adding frequent departures and fun service. They offered the speed of a plane at the price of a car. Yellowtail Wine didn't make better wine. They made wine fun and accessible. They eliminated the pretentious terminology, complex taste profiles, and intimidating selection process while adding a cute kangaroo and easy drinking sweetness. They converted beer drinkers into wine buyers. Notice the pattern here? These companies didn't waste time benchmarking their competitors. Instead, they used what's called the 4 actions framework. And this is where you need to pay close attention, because these 4 questions can transform your entire business. First, which factors should be eliminated that your industry takes for granted? Every industry has sacred cows, expensive features that companies assume are essential, but customers couldn't care less about. For Cirque du Soleil, it was animal acts. For Southwest, it was meal service. What's yours? Second, which factors should be reduced well below the industry standard? Some features matter, but not as much as your industry thinks. Yellowtail kept wine, obviously, but they dramatically simplified it, reducing variety from hundreds of options to just 2. Third, which factors should be raised well above the industry standard? What do customers really value that your industry underdelivers? Southwest raised the frequency of departures. Cirque raised the artistic sophistication. And fourth, which factors should be created that the industry has never offered? This is where the magic happens. NetJets created fractional jet ownership. iTunes created legal single-song downloads. What unprecedented value could you create? Here's the critical insight. You must pursue all four actions simultaneously. Eliminating and reducing drops your costs. Raising and creating increases buyer value. Together, they shatter the traditional trade-off between value and cost. Now you might be wondering, okay, this sounds great, but how do I actually figure out what to eliminate, reduce, raise, and create? This is where most companies get stuck. They're staring at their industry with the same tired eyes as everyone else. But blue ocean strategists see differently because they look differently. Instead of accepting industry boundaries as fixed, they systematically explore what's called the 6 paths framework. Let me walk you through a couple of these paths because they're game changers. First, look across alternative industries. Don't just study your competitors. Study what customers use instead of your product. NetJets didn't study other jet companies. They studied the alternatives business travelers faced. Fly commercial, which is low cost but high hassle, or buy a whole jet, which is low hassle but astronomically expensive. Their solution, fractional ownership, selling shares of private jets starting at 1/16th ownership, giving customers private jet convenience at a fraction of the cost. Second, look across the chain of buyers. Industries often focus on one type of buyer, the purchaser, user, or influencer. Shift your focus and new oceans appear. The insulin industry focused on doctors, the influencers. Novo Nordisk shifted focus to patients, the actual users, and discovered a huge unmet need: easy, discreet insulin delivery. The result? The Novo Pen, which transformed insulin from a medical procedure into a simple daily routine. Third, look across complementary products and services. Your customer's experience extends way beyond your product. What happens before, during, and after they use it? UK tea kettle sales were completely flat until Philips realized the problem wasn't the kettle, it was the lime scale in the water that ruined British tea. Solution? A kettle with a built-in filter. Sales exploded. And here's the key point about all of this. These aren't random acts of innovation. There's a systematic process you can follow. It starts with something called the strategy canvas, which is basically your X-ray vision for industry transformation. Here's how it works. You list your industry's key competing factors on the horizontal axis, score each competitor's offering level on the vertical axis, and connect the dots to create value curves. What you're looking for is convergence, when all the value curves look basically the same. That's your signal that everyone's competing on the same factors, turning the ocean red. When Yellowtail plotted their strategy canvas against 1,600 other wines, the divergence was striking. While others competed on complexity, aging, vineyard prestige, and variety, Yellowtail eliminated or reduced all of these and instead created fun, simplicity, and ease of selection. Their tagline could have been, "Wine for people who don't like wine," and it worked brilliantly. Now, here's something most strategists completely miss, and it's absolutely critical to your success. Your biggest growth opportunity isn't your existing customers, it's the people who refuse to buy from you. Blue ocean strategists think in reverse. Instead of finer segmentation, dividing your customers into ever smaller niches, they practice what's called desegmentation, finding commonalities across non-customers to unlock massive new demand. Think about it in 3 tiers. First, you've got soon-to-be non-customers, people who use your industry's offering minimally and grudgingly. They're waiting to jump ship the moment something better appears. Pret a Manger noticed professionals were increasingly skipping restaurant lunches, grabbing something quick, bringing brown bags, or going hungry. Why? Restaurants were too slow, too expensive, and too heavy. Their solution? Restaurant-quality sandwiches, made fresh daily, served in 90 seconds, at fast food prices. Today, they serve 760,000 customers daily. Second, you've got refusing non-customers, people who consciously choose against your industry because offerings are unacceptable or unaffordable. And third, you've got unexplored non-customers in distant markets that no one in your industry has ever considered customers. Focus on the tier representing the biggest catchment of demand you can capture. But here's where most blue ocean strategies fail. Creating a blue ocean isn't enough. You need a robust business model that ensures profitable growth, and this requires following a specific strategic sequence. First, buyer utility. Is there exceptional value? Does your offering remove the biggest blocks to utility? Ford's Model T removed the two biggest blocks to automobile adoption. Cars broke down constantly, and they were impossible to use on muddy roads. By making cars reliable and roadworthy, Ford unlocked the mass market. Second, strategic pricing. Can the mass market afford it? Don't price against competitors in your industry. Price against alternatives and substitutes across industries. Southwest priced against the cost of driving, not flying. This opened up an entirely new market. Third, target costing. Can you profit at the strategic price? Work backward from your strategic price to arrive at target cost. Swatch hit its $40 price point by using plastic instead of metal, reducing parts from 150 to 51, and revolutionizing assembly. And fourth, adoption hurdles. What could block your success? Address concerns with employees who might feel threatened, partners who might lose revenue, and the general public who might object to change. Monsanto failed to educate the public about genetically modified foods benefits, and they faced a backlash that continues today. Now you've got your blue ocean strategy, but here comes the hard part, execution. And this is where most strategies die. 4 organizational hurdles stand in your way. First, the cognitive hurdle, waking people up to the need for change. Numbers and PowerPoints won't convince anyone. People need to see and feel reality. When Bill Bratton became NYC Transit Police Chief, crime statistics showed only 3% of major crimes happened on subways. So he made all his officers ride the subway day and night. What they experienced was graffiti-covered cars, aggressive panhandlers, turnstile jumpers, and terrified citizens. The ugly reality was undeniable. Change happened fast. Second, the resource hurdle. Blue ocean leaders multiply their existing resources' value by focusing on hot spots, high impact with low resources, and eliminating cold spots, high resources with low impact. Bratton discovered crime happened throughout the subway system, but the vast majority occurred at just a few stations. By redeploying officers from quiet stations to hot spots, crime plummeted without adding a single cop. Third, the motivation hurdle. You need people to act. Bratton identified the 76 precinct commanders as kingpins, each controlling 200 to 400 officers. He created CompStat meetings where each commander publicly presented their crime statistics and strategies. Peer pressure and recognition drove rapid change throughout the 36,000 officer force. And fourth, the political hurdle. There will always be those who lose from change and those who benefit. Identify both groups early. Build coalitions with the winners before the losers can organize. Here's the final piece that ties everything together. Most strategies fail because they're lopsided. Companies nail the value proposition but bungle the profit model. Or they get both right but alienate the people needed for execution. Sustainable blue ocean strategy requires aligning 3 propositions simultaneously. Your value proposition: what unprecedented utility do you offer buyers? Your profit proposition: what's your business model for making money? And your people proposition: why should employees, partners, and stakeholders support you? When all 3 propositions pursue both differentiation and low cost, you get a strategy that's not just successful, but sustainable. Competitors can copy one element, but copying an entire aligned system? Nearly impossible. Apple understood this with iTunes. Buyers got legal, easy downloads at fair prices. Apple profited from both iTunes and increased iPod sales. Record labels got 70% of revenues and piracy protection. The result? 25 billion songs sold and counting. So here's where we are. Right now, you're standing at a crossroads. Down one path lies the familiar red ocean, where you'll continue benchmarking competitors, fighting for market share, and watching margins shrink. Down the other path lies the blue ocean, uncontested market space, where you make the competition irrelevant by offering buyers a leap in value they can't get anywhere else. The tools are proven, the frameworks are clear, the examples span every industry. The only question is, will you have the courage to stop competing and start creating? Remember this, there are no permanently excellent companies. There are no permanently attractive industries. There are only companies that make the strategic moves to create blue oceans and those that don't. The next blue ocean in your industry is waiting to be discovered. It might be hiding in the non-customers you've ignored, the assumptions you've never questioned, or the complementary products you've overlooked. But one thing is absolutely certain. It won't be found by doing what you've always done, just a little better or a little cheaper. It's time to put down your competitive benchmarking reports. Time to stop obsessing over market share. Time to stop letting your competitors define your strategy. It's time to make the competition irrelevant. If you want to dive deeper into blue ocean strategy and get the complete framework with all the tools and worksheets, head over to bullishbooks.com. I've broken down the entire methodology in detail in the original article, complete with more examples and actionable steps you can implement immediately. The link is in the description below. Your blue ocean awaits. The only question is, are you ready to set sail?